Today is finally the day we've all been waiting for. After 2 months of teasing this video, I'm finally sharing with you how I turned this plain old bedroom into a cozy and bright space perfect for my busy lifestyle. From designing the room to picking out paint and countless DIYs, we're going to be breaking down how I redid this room for under $300. And if you're new here and you love this sort of content as much as I do, make sure that you subscribe and give it a thumbs up to let me know that you enjoyed it. Also, let me know in the comments which part was your favorite. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get started on this makeover. So first, let's talk about the design of this space and how we want it to feel. And for anybody who's new, this is my bedroom, like my bedroom in my hometown. The bedroom that we are going to be making over in this video is my college bedroom. I live in a house that's close to campus where I get my own room. So this is the kind of room that we're talking about. So I technically have 2 bedrooms. So if anybody's confused. But let's look at our mood board. I made this a while ago. I actually talked about it in a video that I can link down below in creating and designing my dream bedroom, and I made this with Milano. It's completely free, and I put this all together. There are a few tweaks that I made, but I'll point them out to you as we go. So as you can see here, this is a very light and bright mood board. I definitely 100% recommend if you are making over a small space, light and bright is the way to go. It makes everything seem bigger, and for me personally, it's just so much more of a comfortable, cozy, clean space. So we have lots of neutrals going on here. We have lots of plants and greenery and things like that. And I also have a few different DIY elements that I made in some other videos. And as we go through all of these elements, I will be linking all of the videos down below. I made like my desk, I made a wall hanging, a mirror, like there's just so many different things that I DIY'd for this to keep it at a really good, affordable budget. But something that I wanted to keep in mind with a light and bright space is I didn't want it to be completely stark white. And lots of other designs and things that I have done, having a little bit of depth or a little bit of a deeper color really helps to round everything out. So like for example, in my room right now, the focal wall is a dark gray while the rest of it is white. So there's a little bit of depth, something that anchors it, but then there's also that same like light and bright airy feeling. So you guys will see that I brought in a darker element with the rug that I chose, and then on the walls I wanted to do a different variation of something light and bright. So I went on Pinterest and I found this really pretty inspo picture of a 2-toned wall. I thought that was so cool, and I knew that all of the walls at the house were flat. Our walls here are all textured for the most part, except for the feature wall for some reason. So I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to do that. And as we go, we're just gonna make a bunch of fun things. There are a couple things I'll show you how I made in this video, but like I said, a lot of them are going to be linked in the description for you. So now that we know the end goal, we are gonna go ahead and start making over this room into a perfect, cozy space, perfect home away from home. So this was our starting point. As I was saying, it's a pretty plain room. I think the walls were actually half purple and half blue, so it definitely needed a new coat of paint, and I feel like that's a very budget-friendly way to update a space and completely change the feel of it. And like I said, we're going for a bright, airy feel in this space, so I'm going to show you guys how I did the 2-toned look. It's actually a lot easier than you may think. So first we need to start with the boring part. We need to prep all the walls, the trim and everything. We decided to leave the trim white and just redo the walls just to freshen them up a bit. So as you can see, I am measuring 52 inches above the baseboard. I technically didn't really need to do this because we ended up painting over it with the white, but we will do that again later just to sort of reinforce that measurement. That's about where I want the 2-toned wall to start. And we're starting with white first, and we're going to be doing that all along the ceiling and doing it over that top half of the wall. So the reason I put those marks there is so that we knew about how far to go down with our white. That way when we're putting on the other color, we're not running into any gaps that we missed or anything like that. So we're going to do that, and then I'll show you guys how we added in that other color. Now that the top half of our room roughly is painted white, we're finishing it up here. Let's talk about the paint color for the bottom half. So we ended up going to Menards and looking at some paint swatches. I ended up finding this color called Whiskers. It's kind of a warmer toned gray. It's very, very light. I wanted the difference to be very slight and subtle, but I also wanted it to make a little bit of an impact. So we went in with that, and we first started by trimming everything out and going along all of the edges and the corners and stuff like that. And then as you can see here, we're going to be redrawing those 52-inch lines, and we put 2 on each wall and sort of just went around the room, and then we used those 2 points to sort of level out our big piece of tape. We pressed it on there, but not super tightly. We don't want it to peel off any paint, and we're just going to be using that to get our really straight edge between the 2 colors. So now that our tape is on, we're going to take our white paint, we're going to take our base color and do a really thin coat, being sure to overlap over that tape. And basically this is just going to prevent any seeping of the color going through the tape and kind of seals off that gap. And once that's dry, we're going to go in with our gray sort of beige color, and we can do our normal couple coats on there to make sure it's nice and solid. And we're going to be trimming along that tape with the paintbrush, and then we're going to be using the roller to fill in all of those big spaces. And because it was a white color, we did do a couple coats just to make sure it was nice and solid. And now cue all of the satisfying paint peels. I suggest pulling your tape upwards to make sure that we sort of keep the paint from peeling as much as possible. And essentially as the room dried and as things were in progress, we just did all the little sections. We did all of them exactly the same, and once everything was dry, we did do a few touch-ups because there were a couple little mistakes from seeping and stuff, but overall this technique worked super well. So if you're planning on doing something that has a really clean tape line between a couple different colors, I definitely recommend this one. Now let's talk about this custom bookshelf that we made. We ended up going to Menards and getting some pieces of pine. You'll be able to see the measurements right there. But we essentially looked on Facebook Marketplace and we couldn't really find anything. So our best bet was to put something together ourselves. And I am no woods crafter sort of person, neither is my dad, and we were able to put this together and actually made a pretty solid piece. So we measured out the area that it was going to be going in, and I wanted it to have 2 shelves and have a top that kind of went over a couple inches or so. So we did that, and we kind of set up some pieces of wood to hold all of our pieces together and sort of see how everything was going to fit. We pre-drilled some holes and made sure we drilled straight in so that the screws would not poke out. And then we just attached our top on, and like I said, there is a little bit of an overhang, and we just kind of put everything together sort of haphazardly. There's probably a better way to do this, but this is just how we did it. And then we took that piece of paneling, cut it down to fit the back, and then drilled that in. And I actually really like how this turned out. I think we probably could have done a little better in some areas, but for being like our first project of wood that was like an actual big piece of furniture, I was pretty happy with it. So I did go in with some plaster to fill in the holes because I didn't have any wood filler, and I just plastered over all those holes, sanded it down, and I have a video showing how I refinished it that I'll link down below. Now that all the furniture and the pieces are ready, it's time to put all the plates back on the light switches and move all the furniture in and set up the room. So the first thing we started with was this rug. I got this off of Amazon on Prime Day. It was under $100. I can link it down below, but since it was a Prime Day deal, it might be a little bit more expensive than that. But overall, I really like how it turned out. I think it added a really good amount of depth, and I really like the pattern. And I feel like it's not the softest rug in the world, but if you're looking for something cheap that's that's gonna last for a while, I think this was a really good option. And then we're going in with our DIY headboard. I also made that in a video I can link, and I just painted some paneling to look like wood. We moved in my bed and bed frame as well as the desk, and everything is kind of happening all at once here, and I'm just capturing everything that we did. We installed the desk, and then we also installed some curtains and things. I like to get the ones with metal rings on them so you can open and close them really easily. And then we're also going to be hanging my mirror on the wall. So we did not find any studs. It was pretty unlikely that we were going to find any, so my dad brought some little support things to put in the wall. I'll do a little bit of research and I'll figure out what they are for you guys and leave some comments in the description below. But essentially he put them in the wall to sort of support the mirror and make sure that it wasn't going to fall off the wall, since there was no stud that it was actually put into. And this mirror I also made in a different video I could link below, and it turned out really good. And because there's a vent off to that right side, I did want to center that mirror above the dresser, but then I also wanted to add something on the right hand side. So I also made these canvases that I have in a video as well, and I had just put those off to the side and stacked them vertically on top of each other. I really love how it fills up that gap, but it has like a really pretty sort of vintage looking texture to it, and I just think it really finishes off the space and balances everything out. Now we're going to be moving to above my bed. I'm going to be using a couple different Command products, a few little hooks, and then some actual strips. I'm using these frames and prints that I made in another DIY video, and we're going to be hanging them on the wall. Now this is the inspiration for what I'm going for. I kind of want it to look like they're all hanging from the ceiling, but I'm actually going to be securing them on the wall and then just sort of installing that string later. So right now I'm sort of measuring everything out. I made a little mark in the middle of the frame, and I'm just going directly above it and placing my hook. And then in a second here I'll be showing you how I made them look like they were hanging from the ceiling. I used this burlap string, and this is super easy to find. You can usually get this at like Hobby Lobby or Joann's, and I'm just measuring how much I'm gonna need, and then I'm just gonna be cutting that to length and then using some Scotch tape to adhere it to the frame. So super easy, and I just really like how much dimension it adds. It really draws your eye up and just kind of forces the eye to look around the room and see everything that there is to see. Moving to the bed, I am using this comforter that I actually had on my bed right before I moved, and I actually flipped it over so it was more of a smooth white color, and then I added a couple white pillows and then a couple DIY pillows. You guys saw me make a few pillows a few weeks back, and I decided just to use a couple of them and sort of tone it down with those white ones. And now we're going to be adding a cozy blanket on the edge of the bed. I always love this look. I have it on my bed at home as well, and I just think it's really inviting, and especially since it's a white bed, it just fills up the space and it just makes it super cozy. This blanket I can try to link below as well. It's from Joann's, and it's like the softest, thickest blanket ever. It's so nice. And now we're going to be adding something that I actually haven't shown you guys yet. This is going to be coming out in a video next week. I made a faux antique stool. I talked about this in last week's video about how these have been so popular, and I wanted to make one myself that added a lot of character and also added a little bit of wood to sort of liven up the space a bit. And then to keep it simple, I added just a couple books. I put a textbook and then my planner and a pen on there just to style it up, but it's also a really good place to put on your shoes. I find that I throw my backpack on there when I get home, and it just works really nicely. Now for some end table styling. This is those really cheap crates that I literally just like glued together, painted white, and added a little tabletop on top, and I think it just looks really nice. A little rustic, but it's really clean lines. I'm adding a couple books that I have, the Homebody one by Joanna Gaines and also her cookbook, a little picture frame with a little plant, and a tissue box just because it's practical. And then I'm going to be putting this custom drawer in the top to hold all of my different books and chargers and stuff like that. So that stuff is out of sight, and we're just going to be styling the top with a couple different pieces. I have my snake plant, which I also had in my mood board, funnily enough, and also that faux ceramic jug that's sort of a textured pink color, as well as a catch-all for earrings and hair ties or anything like that if I want to take those off before I go to bed. And then I lastly added a coaster because I always have my water bottle sitting next to me at night. So now we're moving on to the bookshelf slash vanity. I wanted to be able to get ready here and also store a lot of the things I use every day. So I put my Cricut on the bottom there just to sort of anchor everything together, and it was nice and heavy to weigh down the dresser. And then I have this custom drawer that's very similar to the one in the end table that holds all of my makeup, my different hair products, and stuff like that. So it just hides everything super nicely, and it has a lot of storage. And now I'm just going to be adding a few styling pieces. I have a faux vase that I made with a couple stems from Hobby Lobby, a little picture, and a plant. So this is how this area turned out. This is one of my favorite areas to just look at and get ready in the morning. I think it's super fun, and it's just really simple and a really unique space. Now to above our desk, I made this little wall hanging as well in a video, of course, and I'm going to be adding in some pictures. I think this is a fun way to make a space feel homey and sort of bring in your personality and just keep those pictures of important people, animals, things like that really close and easy to see. And I see them every day. It always makes me super happy. And now I'm adding an alarm clock, and then I had a little pencil holder I put next to it, and then I also decided to take a couple pieces of tape to tape the cord to the desk so it's just a little less noticeable. And now I'm adding this little basket tray that I made, as well as a lamp for the nighttime. I feel like this adds just a really cozy factor, and I got this for only like 30 bucks at my local grocery store. Adding a plant and then just a little clock. So I really liked how the styling turned out here. I feel like it's just very simple paired next to all of my other school supplies and things. Like I'll be showing you a little desk calendar and a weekly calendar, and I feel like it just dresses up the space really nicely and just makes like mundane homework and things like that seem so much more aesthetic and appealing, and I just feel like it turned into a really cozy space that's perfect for anything that I need to do as a student. That is it, you guys. That is how I turned this plain old bedroom into the perfect cozy space for a busy student like myself. I love all of different character and stuff that we were able to add, all the different antique pieces and all the different textures, all the dimension. I feel like this was such a fun project, and I find it to be very satisfying that one, we did it on a budget, and two, about 90% of the things in this room are all handmade, and I just think it's really, really fun to see this space finally come together. Like I said, make sure you let me know which part was your favorite, and I am super thrilled with how this whole entire makeover turned out. That is it for today's makeover video that I did on a budget. It was so much fun to put together for you guys. Make sure you like and subscribe, and you let me know in the comments which part was your favorite. I think I love a bunch of different elements of a lot of different areas of the room, so it's it's hard for me to choose a favorite, but I am so pleased with how this turned out, and it honestly is really just the perfect cozy space for when I am away at school and studying, doing homework, stuff like that. So it was really, really fun bringing you guys throughout the process. Like I said, give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it as much as I did. And like I mentioned earlier in this video, I will be showing you guys a tutorial on how I made that faux vintage stool for the end of my bed. So that'll be coming next week, and I'm super excited to be sharing that with you guys as well. So yeah, I believe that about wraps up today's video, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and I can't wait to see you in my next video. Bye, you guys.